Hello and welcome to ECOTIMES.TV magazine podcast. Today we've got a special guest called Joe Cross. Joe Cross is from Reboot and he was in a movie called Fat, Sick and Nearly Dead, and he documents his personal journey to regain his health. I'm your host, Alexander Strong. Joe, are you there?
I am indeed, Alexander. How are you, brother?
Yeah, good. So for the listeners out there, if you could give us a bit of your background, Joe, and about this movie and kind of what you had to overcome to kind of get healthy again.
Sure thing, mate. The movie was called Fat, Sick and Nearly Dead. It came out in 2011. It's actually played in the UK market on television twice on Channel 5. And it's a bit of a big hit, actually. About 1.5 million people watched it in the UK, which was... No one was more surprised than me about that. Let me tell you.
Yeah, that's great.
And it's on Netflix, on Love Films. It's on all those platforms there right now. And I've got my new movie, Fat, Sick and Nearly Dead 2, which is coming to the UK in November 18, so not far away of 2014.
Great.
So the movie Fat, Sick and Nearly Dead, that was actually shot between 2007 and 2009, chronicles my journey from basically 320 pounds, which I think in stone, that's up in the low 20s, like 22, 23 or something. It's a big number in stone of where I was, to losing 100 pounds, getting off medication, and beating a debilitating autoimmune disease that really was a big issue in my life, and was I won't call it life threatening as a disease, but it was certainly life inhibiting. But I think that my lifestyle choices were life threatening. In other words, I was death by 1,000 hamburgers, if you like. Yeah. So I basically turned to the philosophy of adopting, which is, you don't need to be Einstein to work out, is like put more fruit and vegetables. And I went pretty extreme to start with by just drinking juice for 2 months and nothing else. And then for the next 90 days, I ate fruits, vegetables, nuts, beans and seeds, and drank a lot of juice from fruits, vegetables, nuts, beans and seeds. And then I ended up getting off all medication 5 months later. Now, I didn't know it was going to take 5 months. It wasn't like a plan that I said, I'm doing 60 days of this and 90 days of that. No, it was 60 days of this was planned, the juicing. But then I said, I'm going to just keep sticking to fruit and vegetables, nuts, beans and seeds until I'm healthy. It wasn't like I chose 5 months as a number. I chose 60 days of juice, and then I said I'm going to go on fruits, vegetables, nuts, beans and seeds for as long as it takes to get healthy, and it ended up being 90 days. So I was going to go 2 years and try it, and it ended up only taking 90 days, which was fabulous.
Why did you decide after 90 days, Joe, not to continue kind of that diet?
Well, I basically did. It made up most of my life. But I've got to be honest with you, I was a bit bored with just that as a choice. And, I'm confronted with this every day. I think that there's a lot more to life than just looking at food as nutrition. I think food gives many, many pleasures. It's something that's part of our culture, our history, our future, our fun times, our sad times. Food is there. Food is something that we meet people and break bread, and we gather around. And so I'm someone who, rightly or wrongly, it's just my philosophy, I think that we've got many of us don't have a very healthy relationship with food. We have a relationship with food that is very moralistic, if you like. It's like, is it good for me or bad for me? And I think that's quite dangerous to think like that, Alexander. And so I'm much more about balancing, and even though it's hard, I'm not saying it's easy, but I'm much more about trying to achieve balance and seek that kind of a path by therefore incorporating what I call the fun foods in life.
So, like, what when you're on your kind of 90-day kind of kind of revitalizing your kind of health. What was what are kind of some key fruits or vegetables that you found just amazing but really had like the biggest impact?
Well, I think during the 60 days of juicing and the 90 days of eating fruits, vegetables, nuts, beans, and seeds. See, during the juicing, I was only on fruits and vegetables, so I wasn't able to have any main, and I wasn't chewing. I mean, I'm not making smoothies, Alexander. I was drinking the water filtered through plants.
Yeah.
So that's a big difference to eating plants. Okay.
Yeah.
And during the juicing stage, I was pretty excited about having at least 25%, 20% of the volume of juice being from sweet parts of the fruit and vegetable landscape. So apples and oranges and pineapples and pears and so on. I wanted to make it a little bit sweeter so that it tastes better. But funnily enough, as the journey went on, I actually then quite started to enjoy just the vegetable ones on their own. I mean, and it was a balance. It became over time like that.
Yeah. People don't realise about fruit smoothies that obviously it's natural sugars, so it's natural fructose and glucose, and you know, you can actually put weight on because it's natural sugars. But like you said, the vegetable smoothies are the key because they've got all the minerals and vitamins. I mean, fruits are good, but in moderation, I think.
Yeah, well, I think the way I look at it is that sugar is a good thing for the human body. Okay, sugar is a good thing for the human body. Too much sugar is not a good thing for the human body. So it comes down to where are you going to get your sugar from today? And if you're going to get your sugar from refined, processed carbohydrates, confectionery, whatever you want to call it, then it's okay if you're going to get it from there. But if you're going to get it from there in small amounts, like a treat, I am good with that. What I'm not good with is it being way too much in the day, because it's going to cause all sorts of problems in the system that will only crave more of it, and you're going to get into this rut of a just complete catch-22 where you are just cycling through, and the desire for sugar will just keep getting stronger and stronger and stronger, and you'll create all sorts of inflammatory problems in the system. And I don't think I need to educate you on this, Alex. You seem like a pretty smart guy, well up on all of this. Yeah. And I think most of the listeners have heard enough about the problems. But I think that it's important to understand that sugar is sugar, whether it's sugar coming from a chocolate bar or sugar coming from an orange. The effect on the body is exactly the same. And the reality is that when you have the orange, yes, you are getting micronutrients, vitamins and minerals with it. So that's a positive. So we don't want to discourage people from having an orange. But what we want to discourage people from doing is maybe having 8 of them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So
what I found is that my diet, I became less sweet orientated during this period of time. And then, of course, I really started to love the texture of, when I started eating, of many vegetables and salads that I really, before never looked at.
Yeah.
And then I think the overall rule that I used, the big rule, was that the colours are critical to mix the colours up. And there are 5 colours, 5 primary colours of the fruit and vegetable rainbow, which are green, yellow, red, purple, and orange. Right. And those 5 colours, they all have different values and different properties of nutrients for us. And so it's very important that we mix that colourful plate or colourful juice or colourful smoothie up, because we want to try and get an equal balance. So it's not good just having green only, green. Yes, green is the most nutrient dense of all the plants out there, right. But you also need the purple, the red, the yellow, and the orange. So to me, it was fun working out ways of, maybe taking a bell pepper, or as we call it in Australia, a capsicum, that's maybe yellow, then taking, say, a red apple and then combining that with maybe a beet, and then putting something like an orange, half a sweet potato, and then throw in some kale and collard greens and some, cucumber and celery, and seeing what happens and seeing if it tastes good. So that kind of stuff can be fun.
I would like to thank our sponsor this week, which is ECOTIMES magazine. They cover everything green. Magazine is on the iPad and iPhone. They cover eco travel, amazing eco travel resorts, organic recipes, so amazing recipes to cook, eco gadgets, what's the latest gadgets in eco, amazing eco transport, so battery powered bikes, hybrid cars, battery powered cars, renewable energy, what's the latest in renewable energy in terms of all the different innovative ways we can get energy. Eco how-to, so for example, how to build your own solar panel or own house or something along those lines. They cover eco architecture, so like eco building. They cover tiny houses, which are amazing small houses on wheels, which you should definitely check out if you haven't seen them. They cover all eco news, so what's been going on in the week, and organic food growing techniques. Anything green really, and it's a weekly magazine and it's on the iPad and iPhone or iTunes. So the link is below, so please enjoy. And now we get back to the show. Thank you very much. So when you stopped so you did the kind of fruit and kind of green smoothies, and afterwards you eating nuts and other vegetables?
No. So for the first 60 days, I did not have smoothies. See, to me, the big difference here is people get confused about a juice and a smoothie. They are very, very different.
Right.
Okay. Yep. A juice is the extraction of the water from the plant, leaving the cellulose and the structure of the plant behind. So when you drink it, your body treats it like water. So it's a rapid absorption. There is zero enzyme reaction in terms of digestion.
Right. Okay.
When you have a smoothie, that's like taking a blender and putting in the cucumber, the celery, and maybe adding some coconut water and maybe some cacao and macro and superfeeds and chia seeds, and then putting in some blueberries or ice or whatever, and then blending it all up.
Right.
You are effectively doing the same as eating all of that. You've just outsourced the chewing to the machine.
Right. Okay.
So the body, the best way to differentiate this. Are you a runner? You run much?
Yeah, a bit. Yeah, definitely.
Okay. So let's just say tomorrow morning we went out for a run around Hyde Park, and at the 5 mile mark, I came up to you on a bicycle, because I wouldn't be able to keep up with you, I don't think. But I came up on a bicycle and I handed over to you a cucumber, 5 sticks of celery, a carrot, some ginger, some lemon, some kale, and an apple. And I said, righto, without stopping running, Alexander, I want you to start eating all of this. Okay? Now, you know that you wouldn't be able to do it. You can't eat and run.
Yeah.
Because the blood required to break down the digestion of that food is in your legs and arms, propelling you forward to make you run.
That's not
so you're not going to be able to do it because the blood required to break that down is in your arms and your legs.
Roger.
Okay? Digestion takes a lot of effort. You need to be calm, sitting down in a quiet place to allow the body to digest. There's lots of chemical reactions. Enzymes need to be created. There's a lot of work to break down the structure of that cucumber, that celery, extract out the vitamins and minerals and phytochemicals and micronutrients and absorb them. A lot of work. Then the cellulose, the fiber, needs to go pass out your bowel, and it goes through the 22 or 23 feet, whatever it is, of tubing for the bowel and out the back door. Okay? A lot of work.
Okay.
Now, if I come along with that run tomorrow morning with a big, say a half a litre of water, can you drink the water while you're running?
Yeah, probably.
Absolutely. No problem. Yeah. You can drink water.
Yeah.
Because there's no digestion required. You don't need the blood there to digest the water. So now we've just, without going to medical school, we've just realised that there's a big difference between eating fruits and vegetables and drinking water. So now when we juice, we are not eating fruits and vegetables. When we juice, we're extracting the water out of the plant, We're squeezing the 95% of the water that's trapped in the cucumber, and with it comes the color, comes the nutrients. It comes the color, and in the color are the nutrients, the vitamins and the minerals that were in the plant.
Does it not leave any behind?
So depending on how good your juicer extractor is,
right.
Okay, scientific studies show that a very good juicer, like like for example, a sage juicer that I use, there are studies showing that 80% of the nutrients are extracted in a one-time juice. So 20% of the nutrients are left behind in the pulp. It's not in the fiber. You see, fiber, no nutritional value to us whatsoever. People get confused about fiber. Fiber is excellent for us. It's great for the bowel. It's great for slowing down the absorption of, say, the sugary fruits, okay? It's far better to eat 4 or 5 oranges than it is to juice 4 or 5 oranges and drink the orange juice, okay?
Yeah.
So, but fiber itself, fiber does not get digested into the ecosystem of the body and delivered to the cells. It goes out the back door once it's delivered its nutrients.
I see. So I'm just looking at on your website, Joe, you recommend a few, and you just mentioned Sage by Heston Blumenthal.
Yeah. I'm assuming that most of your listeners are in the UK. Is that right?
Yeah, and global. So,
well, if they're in the US, then we're talking about Breville. But there are many types of juices. I mean, I don't want to just seem like I'm talking about that one company. There are many, but the scientific studies show that 80% of the nutrients come out. Now, here's the question. If I take 2 cucumbers, 5 sticks of celery, a couple of carrots, 3 apples, and 10 leaves of kale and half a lemon and a ginger, and I put that through a juicer, and you can drink all of that, which you could drink all of that in like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
There's no way that you could eat 80% of all of that in 10 minutes. So the power of juicing versus smoothies is that juices can be much more nutrient dense. So during my 60 days, I didn't eat a thing. I didn't chew. I didn't digest anything. I took no fiber. I took only the protein from the juice that was extracted when I did the juicing. That's it.
Okay. Yep.
So I did that for 60 days. Then on day 61, I kept doing the juicing, but now I ate food and I blended food. So eating and blending are very, very similar. Juicing is much closer to water. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. And what should guys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, look out for when they buy a juicer?
Well, there's 3 different types. There's a juicer that you can get called a centrifugal juicer which is usually the cheaper ones, more like the starting area. Then there's the twin gear, and there's a thing called a masticating. So the bottom line is that you've either got juices that twist and squeeze, you've got ones that press and compress, or you've got ones that slice and run against the centrifugal force and use the gravity to pull the water out.
So if the ones that you push the like vegetable down, is that a good one?
Yes, well, most of them have a chute to push the produce in, but the Sage one that I use, I like it for a starting point because it's easier to clean, and it's usually quite reasonable in terms of price. And the big thing about juicing is what's your yield going to be on your produce. So you do need to have a good machine, otherwise you're going to be putting a lot of valuable produce through and not getting enough yield out. I mean, at the end of the day, juicing, blending, and eating are all really good for your body. You want to try and do all 3. And because we're humans and we like variety and we like to mix it up, that's the power and benefits of having these 2 machines, whether you call it a Vitamix or a blender, a bullet or that, which is really in the smoothie making world, or a juicer in the juice making world. And then, of course, just our normal hands and teeth, which help us in the eating world.
Yeah. So, so you did the juicing, not the smoothie. You did the juicing.
That's right. I did the juicing for 60 days. That's correct.
And what happened? What did you add to your diet after 60 days?
So I started to eat all fruits, all vegetables, all nuts, all beans, and all seeds. No whole grains yet. excuse me, I ended up basically my diet was pretty much like what I would call a nutritarian. It was really just plant only, very, very strict vegan, if you like.
Okay, cool.
I did that for 3 months, and then I was able to get off all medication. And I would have gone longer, as I said earlier. Like if my medications weren't down, I was going to keep going. So then, after the 3 months, when I got off medication,
Sorry, Joe. I just want to ask, when you were on that kind of 3 months of vegetables and nuts and stuff, like what kind of, did any kind of vegetables or any of that kind of diet stand out to you that like really, you just felt so much better for?
Well, I used to love chickpeas on my salad, the sunflower seeds. It was very much about salads and steamed vegetables and soups and broths and smoothies and juices. I kind of didn't have meals. I didn't have a breakfast, lunch, and dinner routine. Yeah. I kind of just grazed throughout the day. I'd have maybe 2 smoothies, a couple of juices. I'd pick on nuts. I'd crack open an avocado. I'd eat 3 tomatoes. I'd kind of sort of really be a grazer, if that makes sense.
A bit like a cow.
bit like a cow, exactly right.
But I bet you felt amazing. I mean, like, because I kind of fancy it. I'm not gonna lie, Joe. I really like the idea of just kind of trying that diet and not eating kind of the meat and all that kind of stuff, and just see whether I actually feel better in a person. Because you see some people, and they're so much healthier for just kind of focusing on vegetables and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, well, I think that one of the things to be aware here is that I think you can do that without being too extreme in terms of a long time. I think that you can sort of have a bit of fun and be a guinea pig, if you like, and do some trial and error and kind of just say, you know what, maybe I'll pick out next month and I'm going to try for the month to do this and see how I go. I think that we should all sort of strive to, I think there's probably, if I sort of clarified, I'd say there's probably 3 things that if we can try and maybe take one of them out in a month and then maybe take the other one out the next month and then the third one out the third month and then see how you go after 3 months. I think there'd be some big changes in the world. And those 3 things would be gluten, dairy, and processed sugar.
Yeah, 100%. Well, they're all bad for you, aren't they?
Well, you see, this is where I go back to that, what I said earlier about the moralistic thing, about good and bad. So my philosophy is they're not bad for you. Okay, so don't think about it as bad for you. The way I think about it, all right, is that if I cannot have them, am I going to be able to feel better and therefore exclude them out of my life where they're not necessary anymore, and I'm just going to feel happy and feel better? It's not like, because the reality is that having one piece of bread is not bad for you. Having a piece of chocolate is not bad for you, and they have processed, sugar and dairy and gluten in them. So they're not actually bad for you in this very small amounts. It's when they become the staple in our diet. And that's why just labeling them as good and bad, because people are going to have them, Alexander. You see, people are going to eat chocolate tonight while they're listening to us, okay?
Yeah.
And I don't want them to think, oh, my God, I just had a piece of chocolate. That's so bad for me. Oh, I feel terrible. You know what? I'm going to eat the whole chocolate bar now because I'm a loser. Because that's what tends to happen. People go into these holes where they look at themselves and they're not proud of who they are. And they feel lost. They feel hopeless. And they talk themselves down, and we don't need. Life's tough enough.
Yeah. So you got to have a balance.
Without us being our own enemy. Correct.
Yeah. Okay. That's.
And you know what? For some people, by the way, some people are going to do the no gluten, no dairy, and no sugar, and they're not going to notice any difference. And that's a great thing to experience. Going, wow, you know what? Those things don't affect me, so I've learned. But there's going to be others that if they tried that, boy, oh boy, their lives would just turn around. Like all the forget about weight loss. Let's not worry about weight loss. That's irrelevant in this conversation.
No,
we're talking about clarity of mind. We're talking about being able to focus. We're talking about getting good sleep. We're talking about being happy We're talking about not being moody with your husband or your wife or your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your kids or your parents. We're talking about actually being a person that people want to stick around and hang around.
Yep. 100%. You've converted me. I've just ordered a juicer as we speak. I've just ordered one. So I thank you very much for coming on the show, Joe, and definitely stay in touch and let us know when the new movie comes out, and we'll be able to feature it on the show and talk about it. And
thank you, Alexander. It's been great to be on the show, and it's great to talk to you. And I look forward to coming to London. I'll be in London later in the year for the tour. On November 19 is the new movie, Back Sick and Nearly Dead 2. You can actually pre-order on iTunes right now.
Great stuff. Thank you again, Joe, and look forward to having you back on the show.
All right, thanks a lot, and juice on.
Thank you very much for enjoying our Eco Times magazine podcast. We'd like to tell you all the platforms we're on. So we're on SoundCloud, we're on Stitcher, which is for Android. If you've got Android phone, you can download a Stitcher, which is a podcast app, and get the Eco Times podcast on there. We're on iTunes, so you can get it on your iPhone and iPad and all your Apple devices. And we're on TuneIn as well. And we're on YouTube. So please subscribe to whichever platform works best for you. And thank you very much for listening. We want to say a big thank you very much to Eco Times magazine for sponsoring the podcast. They are a weekly magazine, cover everything green. So if you're interested in growing your own food, renewable energy, amazing eco resorts, eco gadgets, basically anything green, how to build your own home, tiny houses, eco transport, organic food, anything green really. Big thank you to them. And please check them out. The links be below, and it's on the Apple newsstand, so you'll be able to get it on your iPad and iPhone. Thank you and have a great day.